Strange Letters from a Queen Bug Horse. Letter 25. I really should have expected that.
Ah, Spike.
Twilight said. She was frowning. Too many ponies along the way had misidentified her Star-Swirled the Bearded costume, but tried to keep it out of her voice.
It looks like we're here.
Twilight turned. A dark figure loomed over her, face shadowed by the moon that framed it. It shined in the starlight, glistening and chitinous. A huge, sharp, and twisted horn menaced her, and the creature hissed at her with glowing green eyes and a mouthful of fangs. Twilight screamed, and punched it in the face with a hoof. It fell back against the bushes, and Twilight gasped for breath from the sudden shock.
I really should have expected that,
it said with a familiar voice. It straightened up again, rubbing a hoof against its face where Twilight had walloped it.
Liminal?
Twilight said, and she looked again. Heat crept up her cheeks as she saw the familiar shape of the muzzle under whatever was providing the black shell, and the same unhealthy slim figure. Some trick made the hair membranous and patchy, but the way it hung loosely around her head was the same, and the diaphanous wings that jutted up from her back could easily be a costume piece.
Oh, I am so sorry. Don't be.
Liminal interrupted. She blinked a disconcertingly green eye rapidly, then rubbed at it more with her hoof.
I was the one who couldn't resist giving you a scare, and I'm sturdier than I look.
She made a dismissive gesture.
But
Twilight said, and then Liminal gave her an unimpressed look with her eyes half-lidded, and she gave up trying to protest.
You're sure that you're alright? Yes, I'm fine. How do you like my look as a changeling?
Liminal said.
Am I sufficiently terrifying and/or seductive?
Liminal gestured loosely at herself, with a longer than usual leg and turned in a tight circle.
Lemmy, you're less seductive than I am,
Twilight said, and she half-suppressed a snort of a laugh.
But you are scary. Oh, that old mare's tail. Aren't changelings supposed to look like the ponies that they're imitating?
She tilted her head to look closer at the holes through what must have been short stilts.
Why so insectile? Oh, don't tell me that you're a tripophiliac, Twilight,
Liminal said, nudging her muzzle away.
It's one of the more classic interpretations, actually. A few of my friends and I got together to coordinate the looks for the night, and this is what we settled on. And isn't Star Swirl a little obscure, even for you? Oh, thank you for recognizing the costume,
Twilight said.
Unlike some dragons I can name.
One of her ears flicked. Spike shrugged and stuffed another handful of hard candies, wrappers and all, into his mouth.
And Star Swirl the Bearded is hardly obscure,
Twilight huffed.
He was completely unrecognized by a cross-section of average ponies from this town.
Liminal interrupted.
But just a moment. I need to get some of that horrible festival food.
She strode her way through the crowd. Her extended legs elevated her from merely tall to princessly heights, and ponies readily parted around her. Some shrieked, or giggled nervously, or both as they came face to face with Fangs and Black Chitin. Twilight hurried after her, nearly dragging along Spike, and caught up in time to see Liminal efficiently chewing her way through an entire spiral-cut deep-fried potato. 3 more floated along in the green aura of her magic. Twilight did the math in her head and edged away from the slightly too eager Pegasus Pony Potato Purveyor's pugnacious potato presentation.
Just one of those must be 1,000 calories. How do you stay so skinny?
It was blunter than she would have been with her other friends. Liminal was sharp-edged, but she allowed the same from those around her, sometimes even welcomed it.
It's in my nature. I can never gain weight. Oh, these are awful,
Liminal said happily as she stuffed more potato into her mouth. She chewed vigorously and swallowed, and Twilight wondered how the fangs stayed neatly in place even while eating.
Oh, so much grease. Do you want one?
Liminal said, and Twilight shook her head firmly as the taller pony tried to proffer a potato at her. Spike raised a hand to take one, and Twilight tried not to sigh. That would at least mean that his dinner wasn't only candy.
Hey, Twilight!
Squealed Pinkie Pie, as she bounded up in a chicken costume, loosely followed by a collection of foals in all shapes, sizes, and outfits.
Look at my...
She looked up at Liminal, then further up to see her eyes, then back down to see the fangs again, and then shrieked and jumped into the bushes. She left behind in midair bags that scattered candy everywhere as they fell. Instant chaos resulted among the foals as they scattered to grab candy. Liminal hissed at them like a predatory cat, but didn't move, and some darted nearly into her reach to grab a piece before scrambling away again.
Oh no!
Pinkie called from the bushes, just her chicken beak protruding.
First Kevin and now you? Pretty soon there'll be changelings everywhere, replacing princesses, sneaking into weddings to feed on the bride and groom, painting bright colors on mooses just because they can. I do hope that there will be no replacing our princesses,
said a short-maned, dark-coated unicorn mare in a rather nice witch costume as she navigated her way between the racing foals. Her eyes were on Liminal.
I will endeavor to avoid moose painting,
Liminal said in a dry tone.
And every pony knows that the plural of moose is meese, anyway.
In the bushes, Pinkie Pie gasped dramatically.
But Shooting Star, it is nice to see you again,
Liminal said, and she offered the smaller mare a leg with holes in it.
Have you met Kevin before? He's doing the whole bug pony thing too, and I understand that he's running some of the entertainments. Something to do with pumpkins and trebuchets.
She frowned minutely, looking off into the distance.
The plural of moose is moose, Lim.
Twilight said.
Meese.
Liminal said.
Moose.
Twilight said.
Meese.
Liminal said.
Moose.
Twilight said.
Moose.
Liminal said.
Yes, moose.
Twilight said. Liminal considered that for a long moment, then took a bite of one of her still floating potatoes, chewed, and swallowed.
Meese,
she said. Twilight just sunk her head into one hoof, and watched them, Shooting Star making a noise suspiciously like a laugh muffled by a tightly shut muzzle. Bonus letter. Dubiously canonical minisode. Twilight, you cast a spell named Summon Fish. Twilight groaned and rubbed her head. A long, hot shower had finally gotten rid of the smell, from her anyway, and she wondered how long it would take to clean the library. But the hot water had only temporarily eased her bruises.
I just don't know what went wrong,
she said, as she watched the bucket brigade slowly empty wagon load after wagon load of trout out of the tree. Liminal looked at the tree, and looked back at her sitting on the lawn, and said,
Twilight, you cast a spell named Summon Fish. Yes, Summon Fish! I had a fish tank and everything!
Twilight said.
It was simple! The spell worked perfectly, so how did this even happen? Summon Fish,
Liminal said. Suddenly, Twilight understood. Slowly, not to aggravate the bruises, she lowered herself to the grass and then pressed a hoof against her face. The last thing I would ever expect is Chrysalis eating a potato, a fried potato at that. Also, when they were having that moose and meese argument, all I could really think of was just Brian Regan, the comedian. Now let's hop on over to our comedic donators. Top donators, Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, and Ponyman. CourierCruz, Strix, Zar630, Delta Omega, RuneScythe9852, Dospo, Rhiny Dragonwolf, Hunter Norman, Austin Rowland, Secret Moon, Tall Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brethren Mordred, Cerberus, Gulashing Hazar, Ronin Wandering, Enderai63, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Jopier C, Alex F, Rainbow Dash, Teal'c Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Rakow, Mr. ECU, Leslie Prickett, Edgar Garcia, and One Kingdom 1. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.